And I want to give you my 5 takeaways from the weekend. So I'll start with number 1. The first one is this league is fun. It's so much fun, and it stands for all the things that I really thought that this league was trying to get across to us: passion, innovation, and performance. We're seeing the rules come into play that have made the game more exciting, right? 35-second play clock. We have 10-minute halftimes as opposed to 15 or even 20-minute halftimes, depending on where you went to college or what kind of football you are used to. We're seeing that moving the kickoff back to the 25-yard line has it bettered the field position for the offense, starting around the 35-yard line and really scaring the heck out of some of these coaches who are really biting their nails every single time that they have to kick the ball off. We are also seeing just how important it is for you to have depth at your position, because with Jamar, for instance, Alex Magoo goes down with an ankle injury. You're down to your not just your backup quarterback, but your last real quarterback before you have to go do the emergency quarterback thing, right? That's interesting. We're also seeing the next topic that I wanted to discuss here. There are players everywhere. Now, if you are a longtime listener of this show, or even take it back to when I was doing my own thing on YouTube, you'll know that I am here for quote unquote the little guy. And I don't think it's the little guy because I'm short. I'm not little, right? I got that energy about me. Now, that said, there are players everywhere means literally there are players everywhere. So I'm going to give you a list of some of the universities that were represented in just the first game, okay? These are all players who scored or were responsible for scoring in the game that featured the Birmingham Stallions and the New Jersey Generals. Leon College in Batesville, Arkansas. That'd be Randy Satterfield, who has the honor of scoring the first touchdown in USFL history. That ball, by the way, is on its way to Canton, Ohio, to be featured in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Leon didn't even have a football program until about 5 years ago, which is ridiculous, right? Like 7 years ago, about 2015. Texas A&M Commerce is represented here with Luis Perez, quarterback, who signed his contract with the USFL on April 1 and is taking snaps in a game on April 16th. And for those of y'all that do not know Luis's story, it is phenomenal. We will unpack it at a much later date, I'm sure. But start with this. He didn't play high school football. He taught himself to play quarterback on YouTube, and he's bowled 12 perfect games. That's ridiculous. Me saying this as a scratch bowler. I got 2 in practice, right? I got 1 298 ring. To have 12 perfect games, he could be a professional bowler. No, he wants to be a professional quarterback. That's outstanding. South Alabama is represented here, right? Braden Bowman, tight end for the Generals. He caught a TD pass. Florida International, Alex Magoo, he threw a TD pass. Coastal Carolina, CJ Marable, he scored a rushing touchdown. Of course, La Tech with Jamar Smith. Mississippi State's represented here. Osiris Mitchell catching a 35-yard acrobatic catch from Alex Magoo. Florida Atlantic with DeAndre Johnson, who rushed for 98 yards at the quarterback position, right? Helped them rush for 222 in that game. NC State, right, with Kerry Angeline, who started out at USC and was one of the better tight ends coming out of high school. That's just in the Birmingham Stallions, New Jersey Generals game. I am so thrilled that these players are getting an opportunity to play professional football, and players that you might not have heard of before or players that you wanted to see play football again all over this league. The third takeaway that I have is Houston got some hitmen on defense, dog. All right, so I'm going to start with Ahmad Gooden, who's from Birmingham, who went to nearby Sanford University and had perhaps the best game of his life in front of his hometown crowd on Sunday when the Gamblers beat the Panthers 17-12. He had 3 forced fumbles in that game. He had just 2 in 4 years at Sanford. He also contributed 2 sacks there. Donald Payne had 19 tackles, 13 solo in that game. And Reggie Northrup, who was on some outstanding Florida State teams, also outstanding in the middle of that defense, rocking the single digit. You know how much I love the defensive player rocking the single digit, especially in that front 7. I thought that perhaps we would see some offensive firepower, like some for real absolute aerial attacks. Not so. These defenses came out to play. And that's pretty much across the board. We've seen outstanding defense, not just from Houston, but from the Breakers, who harried the Philadelphia Stars. We also saw outstanding defense from the Birmingham Stallions to kind of stiffen up there toward the end of their game. But the New Jersey Generals also had their own defensive stalwarts. I'm really interested to see which other guys step up in this league on defense. I mentioned again, Donald Payne, he comes out of Stetson, right? 19 tackles, you coming out of Stetson. That's phenomenal. And Kevin Sumlin, who is known for the offensive firepower that he has produced at Oklahoma, Houston, Texas A&M, and his quarterback development, really got bailed out by the defense. And he said so. He's like, look, the defense won us the game. And they got some things to work on over there. Clayton Thorson had a day to forget, 9 of 17, 73 yards, a TD, and a pick. But if anybody can get that figured out, it's going to be the guy who started more games than anybody else, quarterback at Northwestern, threw for over 10,000 yards, and a great quarterbacks coach in Kevin Sumlin. But shout out Tim Lewis for what he was able to do with the Gamblers. That leads me into number 4 here. Which QB is going to emerge? Okay, so through the first 3 games of the weekend, we didn't see great quarterback play. As a matter of fact, I dare to say it might be the worst week of quarterback play that we see all year, because guys that I expected to be great were still figuring it out and started to get and settle into the game as the game progressed. Guys like Shea Patterson, right, who started out abysmal in the first half, really came together in the second half for him. Same thing is true of Brian Scott with the Philadelphia Stars. I think you have room for improvement, but also gargantuan improvement, because now they've seen these teams. They also have seen themselves, so they know who they can depend on, guys that they want to throw to. I'll mention Brian Scott again. He has this building relationship with former Tennessee State wide receiver Chris Rowland, as well as former North Carolina tight end Bug Howard. I'm excited about that. Randy Satterfield and Luis Perez might be a problem. We'll see what happens with Osiris Mitchell, but I think Jamar Smith is going to figure that out. A guy that's 6'5", yeah, you're going to throw him the football. So you got some places to go over here for these quarterbacks to emerge, but it's going to be interesting to see which one of these guys steps up and becomes the best quarterback in the USFL. And finally, the New Jersey Generals, the New Orleans Breakers, and the Michigan Panthers can run the doggone football. All right? Like, it was wild to me that only one of the teams that outgained their opponent in rush yards won the football game. That would be the Breakers, right? And the Stars are a pass-happy offense. Like, Brian Scott threw the ball 36 times. Okay? That's not shade. That's just the way that they're built. Meanwhile, the Michigan Panthers put the ball on the carpet 9 times. Let's say it again. 9 times. What? You had 5 from your quarterbacks, 3 from Shea Patterson, 2 from Paxton Lynch. You had 3 turnovers, but they still were able to run the ball for over 170 yards, 190 yards, nearly 200 yards rushing. The New Jersey Generals went for 222 yards with DeAndre Johnson responsible for 98 of those. By the way, get to know Vito Victor and Trey Williams, who are outstanding tailbacks, but they did all this without Mike Weber at tailback for the Generals. They're only going to get better at running the football. And then the Breakers, Jordan Ellis showed out. I expected TJ Logan to do what he did, but to see Jordan Ellis have a great day for the Breakers has got to make you feel good if you're an offensive coordinator, Noel Mazzone, head coach Larry Fedora. Now, you got some things to figure out with Kyle Sloter and the passing attack, but if you get that figured out, you've got an outstanding defense, right? With Sharif Miller and Javin Bellamy. That front 7 was lethal. It's sort of disgusting. They also were able to score on special teams punt block for the safety. Excuse me. I almost said 2-point conversion, where the ball went into the back of the end zone and out the back of the end zone. So we saw some great defense. We saw teams that can run the football, and running the football is a cure-all for what ails you. If you can do that well, you could probably get away with not being able to throw the ball well. But I was excited to see these teams play. They battled the weather, right? I'm in Birmingham on Sunday, and I'll take us out the door on this. But we started out Sunday morning. It's storming. It's lightning. We have a delay. Okay, it's kind of cool. Rain's coming down. By halftime of the first game of the day, which was the Gamblers and the Panthers, man, it's like 70% humidity and bordering on 80 degrees. Okay, like, they were trying to figure out this slippery ball from rain, this slippery ball from sweat, and then staying hydrated. And again, there are only 38 active players on each roster. Remember, you play 11 aside, right? That's 22. So you really have to be in shape for this. And the pace of play demands that you be getting your conditioning in. It's really impressed with what I saw from each one of these teams that played on Sunday in particular. All right. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, thank you for being here. The number one ranked show covers college football and the United States Football League. We're going to do these weekly episodes for the USFL in addition to our regularly scheduled college football program. I'm excited about that. We're going to do some power rankings and get into just which teams feel good and which teams are really good. And don't be shocked if there's a team or two that is ranked ahead of another team that won a football game, because again, watch the games. If you watch the games and you're not just reading the stat book, some of this will make sense to you. If not, you're just going to have to trust and believe that I am doing my best to give you a really good overview and objective view of the USFL. Been covering this league from its inception, and I can't wait to see it all the way through to July 3rd, Canton, Ohio, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, where we're going to crown the inaugural USFL champion. Thanks for watching this video, and remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the number one ranked show YouTube channel.